Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Real Estate Roundup with Dan O'Neill, powered by our friends at RCG Mortgage. Mortgage rates are at a ridiculous low. If you're interested in finding out what you can afford, advice for repairing credit, or interested in purchasing, give RCG a call at 631-433-3505. As many of you know, my name is Dan O'Neill. I'm a real estate professional on Long Island, New York. I've been blessed to have had some success early on in my career and thought it was time to share some of my strategies and some knowledge that has gotten me to this point. I will also be bringing on the industry leaders to share their knowledge, strategies, tips, and techniques to what makes them successful as well. Thank you for listening last week when I had on Andrew Russell, a powerhouse in the mortgage business. We talked about his daily schedules, his weekly schedules, how he has gotten to where he is today, the need for a youth infusion in the mortgage business, and so much more. This week, we will be shifting gears over to the investing side of things with one of Long Island's most prolific house flippers and investors, husband, father of three, owner of Suffolk County House Buyers, Jeremiah Dalton. What's up, my friend?
How are you, brother? Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for coming on. Appreciate it. So it's been a pretty good week for both of us. I was able to put two of my listings under contract, both for full ask. Both were only on the market for a week. Got two appraisals back for buyers of mine. One, the contract price was $380, and the appraisal came back at $420, so that's a home run. And the other one was contract price of $585 with an appraised value of $620. So anytime you can buy a house and get an instant positive equity like that is an absolute home run. We also put our Comac listing on the market, you and I and Zach, and two contracts for you and a verbal.
Yes.
That's awesome. So it's been a good month and a good start to the month, especially with July 4th week. It's difficult to start off July that good. So I've had the pleasure of working with you recently. We did a deal together back in, I think, March or April. And I've been really impressed by your business model, how unique that business model is, and not only your ability to find deals, but to find good deals. With how saturated the market is right now, everyone thinks that they're an investor, and it's not that easy. So obviously there are a ton of investors, and you really stand out. And I don't think we get to really see the side of you that everyone sees. The Suffolk County House Buyers, no one really sees the side of you. It turns out you're also a low-key comedian, so
I am.
I want people to get to know a little bit about you. So why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about how you got started in the business, where you grew up. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So was never from Long Island, never wanted to live in Long Island. I grew up in Staten Island and didn't want to live there either. But from an early age, I was a good student. My parents recognized that and kind of always put the pressure on me to go through school, get an education, become a doctor, a lawyer. So I picked the latter and became a lawyer. And it was never really something I wanted to do, but I was always operating under the guise of, I don't want to disappoint anybody.
Where did you go to law school?
New York Law School. And that's actually where I met my wife, who's also an attorney and, as you know, handles all my closings.
We will talk about that.
Yeah, so I went to school, I became an attorney, I graduated in 2010, the job market was destroyed. I actually didn't even work as an attorney in the beginning. I was doing anything I could to just make money because that was really the goal. My wife and I settled down in Centerport, wound up getting a job with the union that both my father and I are a part of, and that's what I was doing a lot of work in after I graduated law school, ironically enough, because that was where the money was, and I started working for them. But unfortunately, there was just a lot of political stuff going on behind the scenes that I think I wasn't really prepared for, and nor was I really in that inner circle to be a part of it. Yeah. And I realized my direction, my career trajectory had pretty much flatlined. I was at a job that I really couldn't stand any longer. The work that was given wasn't really particularly challenging. I wanted to do more. I always wanted a challenge, and just it wasn't happening.
Yeah.
And I had been involved, dabbled in real estate. I actually bought my first investment property in my early 20s when I was in law school with my wife.
Was it like a rental? Or
it was a condo. It was a condo that we lived in. We still, to this day, rent out. It's in New Jersey. Nice. My wife and I actually bonded over real estate. That was kind of one of our first substantive conversations, believe it or not.
That's really cool.
But, I abandoned all that because, like I said, I didn't want to disappoint anyone.
Yeah.
So, fast forward to a couple years ago, my daughter was born, and I realized, I wasn't living to my full potential, and I was asking myself, what kind of example was I setting for her? Was I going to show her the way you should live your life? You want to be a leader. You want to be somebody that inspires people. You want to live life to the fullest. I wasn't doing any of that. I could tell her that all day long.
Yeah.
But I wasn't showing that. And so I took a hard look at what I really wanted to do. And I had a construction background, so I knew that, and was certainly always wanted to be involved in fixing and flipping homes, but just never had the guts to do it. So finally,
So this was something that you actually wanted to do for a
a
while.
long time. I mean, for years. And honestly, I had a friend of my father's who was a house builder, and I was always amazed at like what he was doing. So anything in that realm really intrigued me. So I finally just made the decision that I was going to go for this. I wasn't sure if it was just going to be like flip a couple houses a year, bring in some ancillary income, maybe transition to a job that was less hours, less of a commute. But as it started to grow, I realized like I could do this and make this a full-time job.
Yeah.
Certainly made a lot of mistakes along the way, but realized I'm good at this.
Yeah, of course.
And I can make this something that is a solution for the long term.
Well, was it something though that to go from being basically an attorney, then into the union, then to what you're doing now? Was there something that just kind of like clicked, where it was like one day you just woke up, it's like, okay, I'm gonna start this entire business. I'm gonna just dive right into it. Like something clicked one day, or
you know what it was? I'll never forget. It was the beginning of the year, several years ago, and my wife was sitting on the bathroom floor. Our daughter was in daycare, and she was getting sick and sick and sick because we really didn't have a lot in the way of family members watching her, and we had to put her in daycare because of the schedule that we both worked. And I knew I just had to make a change between on a professional level, not living to my full potential, not being around for my kids, not doing what I loved, even though I was making a good living. There's a lot of flippers out there, a lot of real estate professionals, my hat goes off to them, but they started with nothing, no money, but they had time, which is a huge advantage.
Yeah.
But they didn't have any money. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm some kind of rags to riches story. Like that's not what I'm here to tell you. I'm here to tell you that like I had a good life, I made a good living. We drove nice cars, we were members of the yacht club.
Yeah, but you wanted more though. That's.
I wanted different.
Yeah.
I wanted different. I wanted more, but I wanted different. And I knew I had to make a change. And if I wasn't gonna, how could I tell my kids to follow their passion if I wasn't following mine? So I made the decision, and I knew it wasn't gonna happen overnight. I knew it was gonna take some time, but I knew at some point or another I was gonna make a transition into doing this. So far it's worked out.
So a lot of people don't really realize, like, when they're getting their, either like on our side of things, their real estate license, you're not really just like an agent. You're not just a salesperson. You're really, if you're going to be successful, you're really starting your own business. On my side of things, and obviously on your side of things too. So for me, I had a marketing background. I went to school, college, everything, but I never really understood how to really run a business. So my first year was really tough because, hey, you got to worry about taxes. You got to worry about, write-offs, all those different kinds of things, and just stuff that is really, okay, listen, yeah, I'm getting 3 listings this month, but I don't really have to focus on getting those 3 listings now. I got to focus on next month or the following month. So did you always have such like an entrepreneurship knack? Like, were you always like a businessman? How did you?
Yeah, I always had the entrepreneurial spirit. I actually made enough money. My wife and I made enough money as a down payment on our house by renting out apartments in Harlem on the side. You know what I mean? And yeah, we spent an entire summer. The development company said you're not going to be able to compete with these other big brokers. He has like City Habitats that like dominates the Manhattan rental market. Yep. You'll never be able to compete with them. And we put our hands in it, and we wound up renting dozens and dozens of apartments. And those commissions, we basically just put to the side and put a down payment on our house. But it was funny, you abandon some of those things because you say, well, life sets in, reality sets in, and I was always going for the consistent paycheck because that was what was taught. That was what was, ingrained in me. I always had the entrepreneurial spirit, but the problem was that, the way and not to get off track, but the way the educational system, everything is sort of geared right now, I think it's misleading a a people.
Yeah, and I said that last week for sure.
Yeah, and I think for me, I was brainwashed. The problem was, I was said one of my biggest downfall, so to speak, was I was good in school. I was a good student. I wasn't the best, but I was good enough that people were like, oh, you really need to continue on with your education. I didn't want to disappoint people. Yeah, and I think when it got to the point where you have to sometimes be a little selfish, and you have to say to yourself, if I don't take care of myself 1st and do what it is that I'm really passionate about and make myself a priority, the people around me are going to suffer.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's something similar with me too. Getting into real estate, I mean, you're not guaranteed any money. 8 out of 10 people, I'm pretty sure, fail out. So it's, when I told my family, and thank God my mother's very supportive, my family's very supportive, but when I kind of just quit my, decent job at 22, 23 years old and just got right into real estate, people were definitely looking at me weird, like,
Yeah.
you're not going to make any money for 6 months. Like, what do you think you're doing?
But you're smart.
At the same time, but it was also my passion too. So this is what I wanted to do. Yeah, granted, I could have done what I had been doing. I probably could have been very successful in that, made a good living, whatever the case is. But I didn't want to wake up at 7:30 in the morning to drive here and do a podcast. I didn't want to talk about real estate. It's something that really, I wake up every morning and I'm very happy with what I'm doing. I love it. It's a passion, exactly. So I guess another question I have for you is, so now that you've built this entire business, you've done everything, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about what it is that you do now with the Suffolk County House Buyers, the different strategies that you use, I guess, not to give away your secrets, but I mean,
No.
there's different things that you do, which is very unique.
Yeah,
so, I mean,
and
the goal, obviously, now working with you and getting to know you, the number one goal is just helping people. It's absolutely helping people.
That's all it's about.
From knowing you, listen, I know a ton of investors. I know a ton of people that are flipping houses. My father just started flipping. Most people that are in this business are just in it to make a quick buck or to make a boatload of money. It does not matter about what is happening to the people whose homes these are. But for you, and I can genuinely say this from getting to know you, it's all about helping people. And it's a win-win for everybody. So it's not just a win for you and a lose for somebody else. It's a win-win for everybody. So can you tell everyone, I guess, a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I first started in the investment business, you could basically throw a rock and find, a distressed house, REO, that you can make money on. I noticed end of 16, early 17, it was really drying up. Everybody was bidding crazy amounts of money. I was saying to myself, are they like stealing the supplies at Home Depot? Like, are they seeing something I'm not seeing? I couldn't understand it.
Yeah.
And we got spoiled here because there was such a plethora of, distressed homes, foreclosures, the whole bit. I started looking at what other people are doing in other markets, where, the foreclosure pipeline isn't as backed up as it is here. And a lot of that stuff from 2006, 7, 8 has already been cleared out.
Yeah.
It's still going on here. So I decided I needed to do something different. I needed to veer off. And as I had a mentor, and he was he's out in Colorado, but he's a great, and still to this day buys a lot of stuff off the MLS. I don't know how he does it, but but anyway, he and not to say there are opportunities, they exist, but they're rare.
Few and far
but
between.
he does it all the time. So anyway, he was like, I'm starting to do some direct mailing. I'm using this guy. I think it's maybe something you want to do. And I kind of said to myself, like, nobody wants to. If you own the house, nobody wants to sell it at discount. Doesn't make any sense. And I was talking to the guy who handled my mailing. He said, you'll be surprised at what people will do. For a quick sale with no hassles.
Easy sale.
If you do what's right for them and you make their lives easier, you'd be surprised. I said, okay. So I started mailing to people, and I was going on appointments, and I guess I realized I had a knack for just taking the time, listening to people, and having the empathy to understand that, like, this house that they were dealing with, for one reason or another, was giving them an issue. And I've realized that people have a great fear of the unknown. And they also, especially when it comes to the sale of their home, they get intimidated by the whole process.
Absolutely.
And a great realtor can help with that. I'm not disputing any of that. But some of them are they've been down that road so many times, they don't want to do it.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of the people that are calling you too, that are reaching out, one thing or another, it's usually, or most times, it's some sort of distress situation where, listen, shit happens in life. Whether you're maybe a little bit upside down, or you can't afford your home anymore, or divorce, or whatever the case, probate, whatever they're reaching out to you for, it's because there's an underlying issue with them and with the house.
Yes.
And it's okay to reach out to somebody like you because, again, you do make it a comfortable sale. You make it quick, easy, cash. It's stress-free.
It is stress-free. I've spent a lot of time the last year and a half now understanding the psychology behind somebody who wants to sell. Like I said, it was something I didn't really understand, and now I do. So what I've come to understand is that there's some kind of pain point that this house is causing them that inspires them, pushes them to call me.
And that's calling you instead of calling these other brokerages, other investors.
Yeah, and my question always is: there's dozens of hundreds of brokerages all over Long Island. Why did you call me? And sometimes they're reluctant to give that reason. As you start to dive deeper and deeper and deeper, you have to listen. You have to spend the time. It's not one of those things where you can go on these appointments, run in, here's my offer, and run out.
No, of
You know
course.
what I mean? You have to spend the time understanding why they're going to you.
Well, and they're also not even just going with you, but they're also taking a discounted price on their
They are.
market value.
And I tell them, I said, if you understand that you will not get the most money from me, you will get the easiest sale, you'll get a fast sale. I will do everything I can to make this, as smooth of a process as possible. But if you're not comfortable with taking a discount, if you want full market value, I'm not your guy. You know what I mean? And they understand that, but a lot of them have enough equity that even with the discount, they're walking away with enough money to do whatever it is they want to do. They're at a stage in their life, and it may not be because of age. It just may be just whatever period in life, they just need things easy. And that's what we do. And I make that, a goal. Anyone on my team, anyone associated with me, the goal is to do anything we can to make the process as smooth and as easy as possible. I had a closing yesterday where the closing took a little bit longer than it normally does. Usually we're in and out in like a half hour. And it took a little longer, and I actually pulled the seller aside and said, I'm sorry. I said, it took an hour, it should have been a half hour. And he was totally fine with it. But again, every little detail, as far as the whole process, I want to make easy as possible.
Of course, because then they're going to go back and review you, and they're going to go on Google, and they're going to say that they had a good experience, and that's what really drives your business. What I also found was really interesting is when I first met you, you told me that you were in the marketing business. So you're not necessarily in the flipping business, you're more in the marketing business, and I think that is such an interesting way to view what you do. So can you touch on that a little bit?
I mean, and it's funny because I think you're also in the marketing business. You know what I mean? So I think most businesses are in the marketing business. It's just what is it that you're selling? But really, at the end of the day, my business is predicated on reaching as many sellers as I possibly can. And I always say, listen, we'll come out, where our goal is to educate you, give you more info. If it works and it makes sense, great. If it doesn't, that's completely fine too. You have to be able to let them know that it's okay to say no. And we're happy to provide you free information. And if you learn something from it, awesome. And if you decide to move forward with us, that's great. But you know what? If you don't, that's fine too.
I also agree. We are definitely, on our side of things, we are absolutely in the marketing business, whether it's marketing properties, mainly marketing ourselves. So for me, for people to call me to list their house, to represent them as a buyer, it's because I'm doing a good job marketing myself, whether it's Zillow, Facebook, whether they see my signage on the side of the road. That's really what's going to drive people to use me. Also, the marketing side of things with selling all these houses that we're doing, all the listings, our marketing strategies, we're younger in a generation where this business is predominantly older. I think the average age of an agent is like 57, 58 years old. So we're very tech savvy. We know social media. We know Zillow. We know how to market to people that are looking online. The days of people going and finding listings in the paper and the penny saver, those days are way over. Everyone now is finding stuff on Zillow, on Trulia, Facebook, all these different Instagram, all these different social medias is where people are finding their houses now. So when you said that you're in the marketing business and not necessarily in the flipping business, I live by that now. You're 100% right. Yeah. It's a marketing business. So why don't you tell us? I asked Andrew Russell, who was our guest last week on. I'm always interested to find out people's daily schedules.
Okay.
It's something that I'm working on, trying to get up at 6 a.m., trying to do, whether it's meditation, cold calling, whatever the case. Everyone has something different that works for them. What does your daily schedule look like?
Well, one of the things I try to live by is I try to win the first 2 hours of the day and win the last 2 hours of the day. And I didn't come up with that on my own, by the way.
You should have taken credit for that.
And I honestly, I think your mornings are predicated on how well your nights are. So I have 3 small children. They all go to bed at different times. They all wake up at different times. So I typically, my middle son, he's on sleep strike now, but he's not going to bed until
so are you.
It's tough, and he's not going to bed until 9:30, 10 o'clock. So 10 o'clock now is the time that I sit down. I go over the day for tomorrow. I try to relax. I try to read. I prep everything. So a lot of it starts with the evening. Then as far as the mornings are concerned, again going back to nights, I try to, before I go to bed, go to bed with a positive attitude. Say, you know what? And there's been studies on this. You know, if you go to bed and you're like, oh, I gotta wake up early tomorrow. I'm gonna be tired. You're gonna wake up feeling tired.
Yeah.
If you go to bed saying, you know what? I'm gonna wake up tomorrow. I'm gonna feel refreshed. I'm gonna get 5 hours of sleep. That's plenty of time.
Yeah.
And this all comes from the book The Miracle Morning, which I suggest people read.
Miracle Morning. Okay.
Yeah. But if you prep your mind the night before, you'll wake up a lot better. So that's something that I do. My mornings are a little hectic because the kids get up and, you know, all hell breaks loose. So I try to give myself at least a half hour in the morning, kind of get my bearings, get myself scheduled. But I'm kind of the opposite. I really use the nights to kind of set the stage for the next day.
Okay. So what separates you? So, I mean, I know why people sell to you, why they choose to sell to you. Obviously, it's a quick, easy, it's painless. You know, your main goal is to help people. But why do you think that, or what separates you from these other companies? Is it that fact that you really are there to help? And
I think so. I think, you know, at the end of the day, I like to think I'm a relatable person. And listen, I did not invent this. You know, plenty of people in Long Island are marketing as well. I mean, most people are trying to still buy the foreclosures and the bank loan, but there's plenty of people out there marketing. And I wasn't the first, and I certainly won't be the last. As far as the people who come to me, you know, I have a big Google presence. If you Google, you know, sell my house fast, Long Island, I usually pop up on one of the first people that pops up on Google organically. So, and we have a bunch of 5-star reviews because we do go out of our way. You know, I think at the end of the day, what separates me from other people is just the willingness to listen to their story.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I think a lot of people, it's okay to be all business. I'm all business in a lot of ways too, but when it comes to dealing with sellers, because this house is probably, you know, their largest asset.
Yeah, of course.
You've got to spend a lot of time listening and understanding, and really then being able to make your offer and how you structure it based on what they're telling you.
Yeah.
And when you feel, and I think when people realize that you understand them, they feel more comfortable with you, and that allows them to, you know, move forward with you. Because there are people, you've seen this, that, you know, I buy from that they had higher offers on the table.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
Plenty of examples, actually.
But at the end of the day, they're happy, you know, with the way I've handled the situation. And I think when they're selling a home off market, they need to be super, super comfortable with it.
Oh, absolutely,
you know?
because, I mean, that's a huge risk, and again, it's the unknown. I thought it was really interesting what Andrew Russell said last week. He was I guess he has a master's in psychology, so he was a guidance counselor. So he uses that counselor mentality with all of his clients to kind of handhold them and walk them through, and it's something that's similar on our side of things. The reason that we have a lot of success is because, A, we're always available, so when somebody texts me, calls me, unless I'm doing this, you're getting an answer right away. You know, you're not waiting a day or two to hear back. When some of these agents, you know, not to talk down on anybody, but, you know, you try and set up a showing or you have a question for somebody, you don't hear back for 3 days.
I know. It's insane. I never understood that.
It's something that I will never understand. So it's something that I think has gotten me to be, you know, the success that I have today is because I'm the same way as Andrew, same way as you. I'm not afraid to hold somebody's hand. I can, you know, explain the entire process. I have people that text me from my hometown that they're not even interested in selling or they're whatever. They just ask me questions and I answer right away. And it's just the way that you have to be. So to really hold somebody's hand throughout the entire process, it goes such a long way. And that's how you get the referrals. That's how you get the good reviews on Google and whatever, you know, your Zillows, your Facebook. It's how you get your good reviews. And a lot of the times, a lot of these appointments that I go on for you, people look you up beforehand. You know, they look at your Google reviews. They look at everything. So we go into these appointments knowing, like, or I'm sorry, I should say that the clients know, all right, maybe I am in good hands and I can trust these people because they're not just shysters here to, you know, buy my house and make $1 million off of it. So another question that I have for you, and I find this interesting because we often do talk about this, is work-life balance. So when I first met you and we were doing that deal, we were always kind of talking about, like, I think I was in the city one weekend, you were talking about getting away. It's really tough in this business, and if you're not in this business, you don't understand. You are constantly on call, whether it's 10 p.m., 6 o'clock in the morning, you are constantly on call. So if you're somebody that's waking up at 10 a.m., 11 a.m., you're not going to be as successful as a person that's up at 6, 7, already on their phone. Same thing if you're someone that puts your phone away at 7 o'clock at night. Most of my calls happen at 7:30, 8 o'clock.
Oh, yeah, no. I had calls through 11 o'clock last night.
When I first get home, when I finally go sit down and have dinner is when all of a sudden my phone starts blowing up. Yeah. Because everyone's home from work and they want to talk.
Course.
So a big thing for me is work-life balance. It's something that I've been working on ever since we did that deal together and we were talking about it. I definitely have that workaholic gene. Pretty sure my parents got divorced, I'm sure, among other things, but because my father was a super workaholic. Like this guy, to this day, is putting in 80, 90 hours a week. He's sick. But I think I have that gene, or his mentality, where I don't know anything other than work. My job before this, I just put up a picture on my social media. I think I had 97 hours one week. 97 hours of working. I was literally sleeping at this place, but I didn't think of anything
Was
else.
that over 5 days or 7 days?
It was 7.
Okay.
It was 7 days, but it was, I enjoyed doing it. I loved doing it. So it really, I shouldn't say I love doing it, but I just loved working. It's all I know. So how is your work-life balance? Is it something you need to work on? I mean, having 3 children and a wife is a lot different than the situation that I'm in. So,
yeah, I mean, that's something that I'm continually working on. But by the same token, I also have to understand that, I have to put in work now on the front end to build the systems, the structure, to be able to take a step back.
Absolutely.
And have not that stuff run on autopilot per se, but be able to step away. So you people on my team that we have, they really take a lot off my plate. So that's a big thing.
Shout out Connie.
Yeah,
Connie,
she is.
Connie is an absolute all-star. So if you're listening to this, Connie, we love you.
Yeah, she does a great job. She takes so much off my plate. And that's a huge help. And I tell people, this is something that mentors have told me, and I want to pass that on. As soon as you can, get an assistant to help you.
Yeah.
It's amazing how many little things you do on a daily basis that get you sidetracked.
Absolutely.
So the more I can give to her, and she can handle that, the more I could stay focused on bigger chunks of things, which then allow me to block my time accordingly to then give the time necessary to my children when that time comes.
The most difficult thing though is really to find good help. So I mean, I'm definitely in the market for an assistant or an executive assistant, whatever, just somebody to really be there for showings and everything like that. So Connie is a virtual assistant essentially. So she lives in Texas. For those obviously that don't know, which is probably gonna be nobody. So she lives in Texas, but she handles all of your, the day-to-days, the appointment setting, everything like that. But for you to find help like that, I mean, that's an absolute home run. You can't just walk on the side of the road and find somebody like Connie.
No, you can't. And I was fortunate, I interviewed a few people, and I found her, and I truly feel blessed to have her. But by the same token, you have to make sure that the people that are doing right by you, you have to appreciate them.
Oh, of
you know
course.
what I mean? And so I let her know that as often as I can that she's doing a great job and help her. And she doesn't work for me. I work for her. You know what I mean? That's that's the mentality I take. Of course. Whether it's you, whether it's Zach, whoever it is, I work for them.
Yeah.
So it's my goal to always be the best that I can and provide as many resources to make everybody's life as easy as possible.
Yeah.
So I mean that's a big principle that I live by. But going back to the work-life balance stuff, I really try to make that a staple of my life. But I'm gonna be the first to tell you, I fail at it a lot.
Yeah, of course. I mean,
you know what I mean?
I think for everyone, it's kind of a work in progress, especially in this business. My mentality is, again, I love to work. The only thing that I don't like is, it's not where, we have like a Tuesday, Thursday off every week where it's a 9 to 5. You're really on call 7 days a week. So even if you want to take a couple hours, you want to go into the city, you want to go to the beach, you want to do whatever, your phone is still, going off. And you have to be there to answer these questions. So it's something that I think drives my girlfriend absolutely crazy. It's tough though, because you have to be there. And for me to take a step back and not do those things, it's kind of like taking away what has made me successful so far. So I think the work-life balance is definitely something that's a work in progress for everyone in this business. So as we're starting to kind of wrap this up, one of the questions I have for you is, so do you have like goals that you set for the number of homes that you want to do each year?
No, I don't have a goal. I mean, I shouldn't say that. I think...
Is there a target that you want to reach?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'd like to be north of 20 homes every year. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, I can't look at it as in terms of the amount of homes. I have to sort of, I used to think that way. I have to kind of go backwards and say, how do I reach the most people that I could help?
Yeah.
How do I find the right people who need my services? And then provide them.
That's a really good way to think about it.
Then provide them the best service that I could provide. Yeah. And then from there, wherever the numbers are, they are. And whatever works, double down on that.
Yep.
And the stuff that doesn't work, put that to the side. So, I've tried different marketing techniques. I'm like, I'm not crazy about that. I'll put that to the side. This marketing technique works great. Let's double down on that. And I think the more people you could reach, then, the better off you are. And to me, it's I try to build as many relationships as I can. I try to be on social media. I'm not as good as other people. I don't. I need to be better with it.
Yeah.
But I do try to get myself out there as often as I can. And yeah, I want to reach as many people as I can because I tell you, when you have a seller come back to you and say like, I still can't believe how easy this was. Thank you so much. Like, you realize, okay, you know what? There is a purpose to what I'm doing.
Yeah,
you know
absolutely.
What I mean?
100%. My goal for the year, I mean, I'm kind of goal driven, so I like to just have that number just so, last month, for the year, my number was 36, so I wanted to do three a year. I thought that was definitely attainable. I'm at, I think, 29 or 30 after this week.
Okay.
So now, I put 8 homes under contract last month, so I exceeded my monthly goal.
Okay.
There is such a big part of me that wants to go, yeah, you know what, I'm going to go take this month off and go to Greece.
No,
but now my goal has changed from 36 to now I'm making it, 60.
Yeah.
So now I want to reach that 60 number. And same thing with you. For me, it's a number, but at the same time, it's helping people, whether they're going down south, whether it's a first-time home buyer, where it's somebody that doesn't know necessarily what they're doing. They've been ripped off by another agent before in the past. For me, that's what really is like the exciting part. It's not really, the wins every single day. It's really the wins for these families. I have a deal right now that hopefully, cross my fingers, not going to knock on the table before Mike kills me, but hopefully it goes on a contract today. I've saved this deal about 8 times. Like, it is actually remarkable how many times that this deal is, oh, it's dead, and then the next day it's okay, we're back on from just, fighting and fighting. So that's the best feeling. It really is. So what, you said you had a mentor. What do you credit a lot of your success for, or what is your why? Why do you love doing this? Is it helping people?
It is helping people, but it's about doing something that I'm passionate about. Mm-hmm. So my biggest thing is when I die, I want my kids, and not to say there's anything wrong with the WWJD bracelets, like what would Jesus do, but my why is when I die, I want my life to serve as a template to say when my kids have a crossroad, they have some kind of situation where they're faced with a question, they say, what would Dad do? That to me, if I live my life, awesome. If I live my life with passion, if I'm successful in business, I've done all the things, when they get to that point in their life and I'm not there anymore, that my life has served as sort of like a guiding post of how they should make decisions. So, and I knew I wasn't doing that, and I feel like I'm doing that now.
That's
you know
awesome.
what I mean? So that's really, if you get down to like the nitty gritty, that's what it's really all about. Which is why like I'm so passionate about what I do, because I'm trying to be the best version of myself that I could be.
And you're setting an example for
setting an example.
Exactly. And your kids definitely are gonna, whether they're too young now, they'll definitely take notice of it. So your wife, we briefly touched on it. You met your wife in law school. She is a real estate attorney. She's one of the best on the island. We have just recently since meeting up with you, now we're partnering with her as well. Can you give us a little bit of background on her and what makes her so successful?
Well, what makes her successful, I mean, she's super, super smart. She was a better attorney than I could ever be. That's why I don't do my own closings. She does them. She's a lot smarter than I am. She's extremely patient. She's extremely kind. And what's nice is she's the best, but she's not trying to be the biggest. So some people try to be the biggest, and I think that comes at the expense of being the best.
Yeah, you lose service.
You lose service. Yeah. With her, the service is first and foremost. So she's not going to take on tons and tons of clients. She's only going to take on enough clients that she can give them the level of service that they're accustomed to. And then anything beyond that, she's going to simply say, I'm too busy.
No, of course.
So if you're one of the people that's lucky enough, in my opinion, to have her as an attorney, you understand that she doesn't take everybody. Yeah. And that gives her the chance to, provide exceptional service to those people that she is working with.
And she's always available too, which makes a big difference.
Yeah.
My biggest pet peeve is when, I have a client of mine that doesn't listen to my advice. They use their own attorney. It's a divorce attorney. It's a friend's family member. And I actually, last month was probably the worst I had with that, where I had maybe like 4 or 5 people using their own attorneys. And it is by far my biggest pet peeve in this entire business is when somebody uses their own attorney. That's not somebody that we recommend. I wouldn't go into a doctor's office or a dentist's office and tell them which kind of Novocaine to use. So when people try and tell me that they know better in the attorney and then the deal starts to unravel, it's like, I don't want to say I told you so because I can't, because I want the deal to go through, but it's just such a frustrating thing. So, using your wife has definitely been an added bonus to our business. And if you're listening to this, do not use your own attorney. Use Jeremiah's wife.
I like that.
All right, so last question for you. Do you have any advice? I'm sure there's going to be a ton of people that are probably looking to get into the investing side of things, the flipping business. We've kept your secrets and a lot of your techniques kind of, close to the chest because I don't want you to give away everything that you do. I think the stuff that you do is remarkable. It is so interesting, but let people figure that out on their own. But do you have any advice for somebody that's looking to get into the business?
Yeah, get started. Like the secret to getting started is getting started, because I see so many people, they're professional event goers.
Yeah.
Like all they do is they go to this event, this seminar, that thing, and then there's nothing wrong with that. And you should do that in the beginning to give yourself a base. But I didn't. I spent, when I decided I was gonna start this, I spent the first 6 months trying to just learn and teach myself. Just do a deal.
Yeah.
Just do a deal. Now, it's easier said than done because deals are so hard to find here in Long Island. But you know what, though? Go around. There's plenty of dilapidated houses all over Long Island. Yeah. Go drive. You can drive around for a month. You could do probably 200 houses a day, 250 houses a day. You could go around, write down all the addresses, Google a skip trace company, get their phone numbers, cold call 1,000 houses. Not a guarantee, but chances are it's going to be, you're going to be able to get something out of it. You know what I mean? And if you don't have any money, you can always wholesale the deal. I prefer if you wholesale it to me, but if you don't, that's okay. And you can always wholesale the deal. I mean, that's the beauty about this business. And what did that cost you? You know what I mean? It doesn't cost much to skip trades.
Just time.
And gas.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if you're willing to put the work in, do one deal. I know that, for me, once I did that deal, I was here, then I was at here, and then obviously it's only grown. And the more deals I do, the more experience I get, the more knowledgeable I get. And that's the thing. I'm always trying to do more and more and more. Not necessarily to always make money, because some of the times I do deals where on paper it's not the greatest in profits. Yeah. But you know what? The more I put myself into the ringer, the better I'm going to get.
Absolutely. And it's definitely not an easy business to get into, and you're somebody that constantly, I'm the same way, constantly is educating yourself. So you're constantly watching videos, you're going to trainings, you're going out of town to go to these events, seminars. You're somebody that is constantly learning. In this business and in any other business too, you should be constantly learning about what it is that you do, or to better, to better service people. You need to be an expert.
Yes.
By no means am I an expert. I learn something new every single day, and I'll admit that till I die. But I'm constantly, I want to learn more. I want to educate myself, and I'm willing to learn. I soak what everybody tells me up like a sponge. Anytime I talk to you, soak everything up, like you say, like a sponge. And then I use it in my own, I turn it into something that's my own, and I convey it to people that I work with, people that I talk to. So, I think that's definitely one of the keys to your success, too, is you're constantly educating yourself.
But I'm implementing. That's
of course,
the key, is that I'm learning, but then I'm doing. Yep. You know what I mean? And too many people learn and they read, but they don't do. Yeah. And I'd rather you do and do wrong, but learn, than sit on the sidelines and just write it all down.
Absolutely. So as we wrap this up, where can people find you, find what you're doing, your Instagram, Facebook maybe?
You can find me on Facebook. I'm Jeremiah Dalton. There's not that many of us on Facebook, so you can find me there. Happy to connect with you on Facebook. My Instagram handle is The Flip Fanatic. You can find me on Instagram. My company is Suffolk County House Buyers. You can follow us on Facebook there. Yep. That's basically it. But if I'm always accessible. So I've had people message me on Instagram, how do I get started? Same stuff that I just suggested, I suggest to them, because, I always say, the key to getting started is just doing it. Yeah. Just do a deal. Yeah. You will never learn more than you will by doing that first deal.
Absolutely. All right, so that's it. Thanks again for coming. Thanks for listening. Definitely check out episode 1 with Andrew Russell, and appreciate all the support. Thank you very much, my friend.
Thank you so much for having me.